Thank you guys all for joining us. Jared and I have been friends and Eddie now for a number of years. I think we're two and a half years now. Jared used us here at Synergy with his company and Eddie's that they built and grew and sold up there in Fairbanks, Alaska at Prospector Plumbing. So I kind of want to share some of the things that we did there to help that team become more profitable with less people, do more, do it more profitably. And we'll be going through some of that today. As you can see here on the screen today, June 18th, we'll try to do another one of these in mid to late July and follow up. But as Bryce said, participation really helps. I'm going to ask some questions here in a little bit, and I would love for those of you to participate. Obviously, I'm going to be a little bit away from the computer. So if you'd unmute your mic and you're welcome to just shout it out, just like we were at a live event, I think that's really going to help us. And I want to do that to get the brain fired up and thinking about why is this objection, quite honestly, that I don't think is ever going away. If you've seen the promotions that we did and what Jared sent out for this event, this is about, I got to think about it, right? I have to think about it. I got to sleep on it. Those are what I call an available party objection, or as we wordsmith that here at Synergy, we call those areas of concern. So we get down to the end, we ask for the order, and typically our customers, most of us here in the plumbing industry, a few other industries are involved. I've owned HVAC companies, one that had a plumbing division. And so what I realized is that some things that are never going away for us is that we get down to the end and we ask for the order, we give them the price, or as we like to call it, the investment. And the homeowner, by and large, is typically going to say something like this if we've done a good job. Yeah, I like you. We're probably going to use you. I tell you what, let me think about it. We don't like to make rash decisions. We're just looking around right now. You're the first one in. We're going to get 3 bids. I need to talk to my spouse, or maybe it's a handyman or a brother, a neighbor, a coworker, somebody who's a little more familiar with the trade, or it's a brand objection. Maybe, we're offering a Rinnai and they're offering a Navien, and so, or vice versa. So it's a brand objection, but really that's it. There's bids. We got to talk to other people. There's brand, the brand of the equipment we're installing. And then there's stalls, and those are available and unavailable. And available is, hey, it's within my own mind, my own heart. I'm here. I just need time. I need to think. I need to research. But they're not saying I got to go talk to somebody else or call somebody. That would be an unavailable party objection, another version of the stall. And then finally, it comes down to price. And so today what we're going to do is we're going to invest our 90 minutes, sometimes depending on Q&A and all that. We could go 120 minutes. And this will be recorded. So everybody on the Wealthy Plumber will have access to this as soon as we can get it up, likely within 24 hours. Today is about I got to think about it. So as we dig into that one, we're going to talk about what does it really mean when they say I have to think about it. And if we say, what does it mean? The question I'm going to ask, and I want to plant this seed into each of your minds, the question I'm going to ask is, when somebody wants to think about it, what are the only things that they would need to think about? So think about that for just a little bit here as we get started. What are the only things that a homeowner choosing whether or not to move forward with us on a project, what are the only things they can think about? What I think I'm going to be able to share with the audience today is that there's only 3. There's only 3 things that are keeping them from making a decision. So think about what those 3 things might be. All right. As we get started, I think it does help to say there's a framework to this. This is what's on the board here. It is the 7 foundations of effective communication that I've created over the last 30 years. Read 3,000 books, built 2 different HVAC and plumbing companies, a number of other industries I've been involved in. But we'll go through these very quickly. They're on the board. I'll keep them up there, but now you know what it says. The ground rules, first and foremost, as we go through this today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about sales. We're going to talk about closing. We're going to talk about persuading somebody to choose us. And that's why I start with foundation 1 as the ground rules. The ground rules are that, yes, we have a responsibility to, and it's a dirty word, sell people our products and services. But I really like to say that means we have to serve them better, earn their trust. And sales is only 3 things. It's an earning of trust, it's a lowering of risk, and it's a transference of emotion. The higher the trust, the lower the risk, and the more positive emotion that's created, the more likely we are to get somebody to trust us and move forward with the project. The ground rule ultimately can be summarized as this. We're not going to lie, cheat, or steal. We're going to treat people like our very own family or our very own grandmother. And I'm talking about a grandmother that we love dearly. So everything that I talk about here at Synergy and here on The Wealthy Plumber is not going to have anything to do with misleading, with manipulating, with selling at all cost. We're going to abide by that ground rule. Number two, it's going to take a certain mindset, especially for those of us that either didn't want to be in sales, we don't want to study because we didn't enjoy high school. I'm the same way. I didn't enjoy high school. I was a country boy from Southwest Missouri. Grew up not exactly on a farm myself, but most of my friends had farms. I was on 10 acres. I grew up working on dirt bikes and tractors, changing my own transmission and brakes. But my dad was a tough guy to get along with, and it really turned me off from working with tools. So this is the part of the industry I've focused on for the last couple of decades. But I do know that it's going to take a mindset that when we get down to the end, that homeowners are programmed to try to get us, if they like us and they trust us, they still want to get us cheaper. And so the way that they do that is almost by default, they tell us, yeah, okay, sounds good. Let me think about it. Sleep on it. Let me pray about it. Let me talk to my spouse about it. Let me research. Let me get a couple of other bids. They're so close. And oftentimes what I find is they're just performing a fiduciary responsibility, that they want us, but they want us for less. So the mindset is about programming ourselves to know there's going to be challenges in our life, in our business, in our career, in our sales, but our response to those challenges is going to determine our future, not the challenges themselves. There's an exception to every rule, right? I'll give you a quick one. You're a great husband or wife, you're a great mother or father, you're living your best life, and then one day a plane comes through the window in the World Trade Center. That wasn't your fault. You didn't deserve that. And so, yeah, there are some challenges that, we get cancer we couldn't have foreseen. I'm talking about every other thing in our life. Homeowners that are increasingly more difficult because they have Google search, AI search, ChatGPT. People are telling them, cheap competitors are telling them it should cost this, and they think we're the bad guys. Those are challenges that we can have an impact on. And then number three, we get into the actual process, becoming a wordsmith. I believe the words we choose to share matter. Number four, and we're going to incorporate this into how do we work to overcome the concern, the objection of I got to think about it. We want to become a rare listener. RARE is an acronym that stands for repeat what the homeowner said, acknowledge the emotion that they must be feeling, rephrase what they said, relate to what they said. And then once we've done a sufficient job of helping to help them feel understood and heard, I call that giving psychological air. Then we go into our rebuttal, which is the E, the express. The key there as we go through that is those don't need to be done in order. It doesn't mean that you have to repeat and then do the emotion. And so as we do some role play today, you're going to see that we're going to mix those up. And I will take the proverbial hot seat today where you guys hit me with some objections, and I'll just role play them. So hopefully we can get some participation there. Number five of the framework of these 7 foundations is that not only do the words we choose to share matter, the order in which we share the words and the phrases matters just as much. And so we're going to talk about the difference between first, second, and third person. And then in our I got to think about it objection handling sequence, we're going to point out exactly how we rearrange some words and go into third person, leverage the principle of social proof and authority, remain likable to move past the I got to think about it objection. Number 6 is the science of influence. I just mentioned a couple of the ways that we can work to influence people by leveraging things like social proof, likability, becoming the authority. We'll talk about that in the I got to think about it objection. And then finally, and perhaps the most important thing is that we've got to be able to inflect our voice in a certain way. Use our tone, use our face, our facial structure, our smile, our eyebrows, our tone, our volume, how fast or slow we speak. Because we could have the perfect script, but if we have a person working for us, or we're in a bad mood, or we just got in a fight with our significant other, and we walk in and we have that same bad energy, and we walk in with our arms closed or low energy, a low vibrational state, doesn't matter how good our script is. You could have the best script in the world, and if it's not performed precisely as it was designed to be performed, the script is absolutely worthless. So that's why we wrap up with that. Foundation 7 is how do we perform the words that we're sharing? In September of 2006, I was running a bunch of restaurants, and I had an opportunity to invest $250,000 into a 1.5-year-old HVAC company. Within a few years, by 2009, in the worst year, the worst economy since the Great Depression, we won an Inc. 5000 award for one of the fastest growing companies in America. Any company that wasn't traded upon the New York Stock Exchange was included in that ranking. We came in at number 1691. The reason I bring that up is just to say that I do have a little bit of credibility in doing this. I've personally run thousands of sales and service calls, mostly as ride-alongs, because I'm not a service technician, I'm not a plumber, but I have owned and run plumbing companies and HVAC companies for 20 years. In 2006, there's the award. I just want to give a little credibility so that you guys know I'm not just a suit. As Jared often teases me about my sport coat. Jared, I couldn't find a sport coat today. I know you're disappointed. So just went with a collared shirt. I know you hate that as well. Got a training opportunity after that success in Colorado Springs. Carrier and Bryant, Ream, Rude, Mitsubishi Electric hired me and my business partner to go out there and travel and speak and train. We trained over 1,000 HVAC and plumbing companies to sell in the home with integrity. And we had companies out there even surpass the success that we had had in Colorado Springs. We trained the largest 1 hour in Benjamin Franklin in the country at the time in Tampa. A lot of you probably cringe when you see all the white shirts. All I can tell you is Scott Vigu over there, the guy in the blue shirt on the far right, plumber by trade, just decided to scale, but he knew he had to work on his team's effective communication. So he brought us in to a room full of technical experts, and we worked on their effective communication. They did even better. One of the largest companies in California at the time, 2010, the Bell Brothers. They dominate the Sacramento market, at least they used to. Kenny and Jerry have since moved on, sold to private equity. As I understand it, they're not the same type of company they were a decade ago. August of 2015, after being out on the road speaking and training, I joined a 18-year-old business in Denver. They had no phone lines, no internet, no website. This is 2015. They had never had uniforms. They were dispatching 2 sons off of Yahoo Calendar in white vans. This was the inventory system. This was the shop. There was not a place, not a chair to sit down at, a computer. Their phones were being answered by an answering machine 40 miles outside of downtown Denver. And literally, I mean an answering machine, not an answering service. Not like Plumline that Jared and a lot of you guys are using here. It was an answering machine with a tape in it. What did we do? We took these 2 trucks, a truck and a van, and I said, I will come in 1 day a week and teach you this kind of stuff that we're going to talk about today. Our teams will work towards mastery to do it. And within a few short years, I believe we'll be one of the best companies in the country. It didn't take a few short years. It took 16 months. Within 16 months, we were named Lennox Partner of the Year. And it was because we just worked on small, manageable, bite-sized chunks. I didn't teach technical training, and I wasn't teaching operations and admin. Those things are vital. Those are 2 of the pillars in our business, but they are only 2 of 3. What I focused on was, how do we answer the phones? What do we say when we do? How do we dispatch? What do we say upon our arrival? What do we say inside the front door? What do we say before we go do our diagnostic? What do we say when we come back? How do we ask for the order? And when people tell us they got to think, sleep, pray, get 3 bids, they wanted a different brand, have to do more research, need to talk to their spouse. When you hear all that, what I believe is we must, if we want to be massively successful and create the success I believe we deserve, we must be prepared to handle those things. 2 ways. We handle them proactively before they come up, then we handle them as they do come up at the end in 2 different ways. We'll talk about that today. So if you are a great business technically, and if you've been working to really refine and work on your operations, what I'm going to encourage everyone here to do now is plug into a system, whether it's mine or somebody else's, and say, we've got to work on very meticulously, how do we handle these other challenges in our business? How do we present our options? How do we add value? How do we create this trust, lower risk? How do we ask for the order? And then still, with all that, the rubber meets the road when a homeowner says, I like you, I trust you, but I don't like to make rash decisions. Your price is a little more than I'd hoped. Let me talk to my wife and I'll call you next week. If we don't know how to handle that exactly, and I mean word for word, voice inflection, body language, eye contact, eyebrow raises, tone, if we're not prepared to handle that, we will never have the success that we could have if we'd also worked to master that last pillar in our business. So anyway, just a little proof that this stuff works. Here's those 3 pillars, guys. That first one, which as I understand it, and I've been on Wealthy Plumber shows now for about 2 years, once a month, technical competency is not something that eludes most of us in the trades. That's where we start. In order to run service calls, to do repairs and do installs, to perform a diagnostic, we've got to understand our industry. We've got to be able to use the tools, diagnose, repair, or replace. But that's just one pillar. It's vital. You can't run a business without being great at that, but it's just one of three. Number two is admin and operations, and I think that also includes marketing. We've got to make the phone ring. We've got to have people that answer them. We've got to have phones, phone lines, websites. We've got to have a CPA to count the money, to collect the money. We need to have all of the operational things in place: inventory systems, trucks, vans, fuel, liability insurance, operations, everything that typically consumes our days. What I find are technical competency, doing the work, and admin and operations, either generating the work or having us go out there, organize, do the work, and then try to process the work after the fact. Here's the challenge. Most of us in the trades don't put enough, if any, specific time and resources towards the third pillar. I'm going to give you a quick example as we get started here, and I hope that as we go into just the one I got to think about it objection today, I want you to imagine that you have $1 million in revenue and $1 million of work. Some of us will do that in a week. Some of us will do it in a month. Some of us will do it in a year. Some of us it'll take a couple of years. But I want you to imagine $1 million. If you do $1 million worth of work, but you have not focused on pillar number 3 to mastery, and you or your team discounts $1 million worth of work by only 10% to get that work, we only have $900,000 left. It doesn't mean that we didn't do $1 million worth of work. It means that we only acquired $900,000 for the $1 million worth of work that we did. If we focus on our effective communication, our sales, persuasion, again, go back to the ground rules. I'm not talking about lying, cheating, or stealing. I'm talking about treating people like our own family, honor, character, and integrity. If we master that and just hold on to that last 10%, we can give ourselves a $100,000 raise. Most of you are business owners on here. What I know about the trades, HVAC, plumbing, and electrical, in North America, the national average is 2.5% to 3.5% net income, which on $1 million means that when all goes through the wash, at the end of the year, after taxes, everything else, we walk with about $25,000 to $35,000 in net income left over. We're doing way too much work, ladies and gentlemen, to have $25,000 to $35,000 left out of $1 million worth of work. But if you discount your services 10%, you've lost $100,000 there. But watch this. If you focus on effective communication and you just learn one thing today, but you learn it to mastery, you practice it, you role play it, you drill this into your team, just like you want to make sure that somebody knows how to do a tankless water heater install and do it exactly as you want it. If you took the same focus and responsibility to say, hey, this week, we're going to learn how to do a tankless. We're going to make sure that we collect all the money that we are owed. And then the third thing that we're going to work on this week is we are going to master a 61-second role play that's going to have us never more worried about when somebody says, I got to think about it. Imagine what your life would be like if 52 weeks from now you mastered 52 of these, just 1 week at a time. It would be completely different. And I can promise you, if you did that, you would stop giving away the 10%. And on the same $1 million of revenue, you'd get $1 million of work, you'd have $1 million of revenue. Last thing I'm going to say about that. Imagine you get so good that now on that same $1 million, you can raise your prices. Jared talks a lot about, the price book and the calculator and where we should be priced. The challenge that I see is a lot of us, we raise our prices and we do exactly what we should do. Jared's brilliant. He leads us down this path where we need to go. But then we go out there and we've raised our prices, but then we didn't master the third pillar and we have to lower our prices through discounting to lock up the work. So it's not that the new price and the higher prices and our hourly rate and the calculator doesn't work. It's that now we have a responsibility to say, how do we create enough value, lower risk, earn trust, and persuade people to choose us where we should be priced instead of when we were lower priced? That is the third pillar. And if you do that, now you could add 10%, sell $1.1 million on the same work, no additional marketing, no additional parts, no additional supplies. I'm talking about doing the same $1 million worth of work, and instead of discounting it and losing $100,000, you increase prices, you take home 1.1, now you have $200,000 of net going to your bottom line. It's a very simple example. And I know we could talk about burden rates and everything else, taxes. Listen, I think everybody gets it. If we get better at communicating our value, we can actually charge what we're worth and actually collect it, not discount it. If you guys didn't see that, I talked with Jared, I think first or second week of May, And you can find this either on our website or his. Jared and I did about 2 hours talking through a lot of this stuff. If you haven't seen that, was on his podcast this May and then was also on there last October. Okay, as we get into the I got to think about it objection, one more time, I hopefully will drill this into our heads. The grandmother rule applies here to everything I ever teach. If we wouldn't recommend it to our very own grandmother, we shouldn't recommend it to the person we're serving. So I'm not talking about hardcore closing, not talking about high pressure. I'm talking about serving customers better. High service, not high pressure. I did a leadership call with Synergy last week with Jake Clemens. He's a Wealthy Plumber client. He's also a Synergy client. Jake found out about us through the Wealthy Plumber, and I see Chris Dutel on here, was actually the first person that ever introduced myself and Jared and Eddie. Good to see you, Chris, and thanks for that introduction years ago. They are the reasons why I met Jake. Jake got into our program a couple of years ago. When he got in his septic business in Oxford, Mississippi, in a downtrodden part of the country, with not a lot of people with extra income to spare, he was out there just doing septic work. Jake had about a $5,000 net in the spring per month in the spring of 2024. Just had him on our show last week. Now Jake has opened not only a septic division and it's profitable, he now has HVAC and plumbing. Last month, Jake, at the ripe old age of 34 years old, running his business full time in Mississippi from his home in Israel, a half a world away, put up $158,000 in net income last month. That's what's possible when you start to focus on the third pillar. So take that from a 34-year-old young man in both the Wealthy Plumber and Synergy. This stuff works, but it's all going to work together. All right. Here's where we are today. I believe that sales at the end is a funnel. So in my mind, when I would work with my plumbers, with my HVAC technicians and salespeople, I would say to them, listen, when we get down to the end, there's only a few objections that people can have. And then I want to get so good that basically like an attorney leads the witness, I want to ask discovery questions. I want to rare listen, repeat, acknowledge the emotion, rephrase and relate. I want to do this in such a way that we can actually pick off and predict the objections that the homeowner is going to give us. And by the questions we ask them, we can get them to have us do them in order. That order, if I had it my way and I was on a call with you guys, I would say, hey, the first one we're going to pick off is a 3 bids or a brand, either or, but I want to do those first. I then want to bring them down the funnel sequence. And again, I'm at the close, not at the beginning, I'm at the very end. Then there's 2 types of stalls. I mentioned this before, so I have this up as a visual. Think about it or talk to my spouse. One of those is available, one of those is unavailable. Would anybody be willing, based on this, so that we can get a little audience participation here, would anybody be willing to tell me if talk to my spouse is an available party objection or an unavailable party objection? Anybody willing to jump in and participate? Don't be shy. If you've ever been to one of my live events, you know that I throw out a lot of cash just for the incentive of participation because I don't care about the right answer. I just care about getting out of our comfort zone. Anybody willing to tell me?
Unavailable.
Would it be unavailable?
Yeah, so talk to my spouse is an unavailable. Thank you guys for participating. Unavailable because if I'm in a home with a customer presenting a plumbing project and they say, I got to talk to my spouse, they cannot walk into the other room if that person's not home. They have to wait till that person's home or they got to call them. That's an unavailable party objection. If they say, I have to think about it, the difference is now I have a different set of things I'm going to come back and say to that person, the questions I'm going to ask them, because they're not telling me, I got to go find my neighbor, my handyman. I got to go talk to my dad or my spouse. They're simply saying, hey, I got to think, I got to sleep. I don't like to make quick decisions. So we're going to handle those 2 different ways. I want to share that as we start to walk through this, I got to think about it objection. I am not trying to close anybody at any time on an I got to think about it objection. Not at that moment. I'm bringing them down the funnel because I believe that it's actually a price objection. Anybody want to share why you would think anybody who needs to think about it, it's actually a price objection? Anybody have any thoughts on that? Heard this, read about it?
Have to make sure it fits their budget.
Is that you, Devin?
Yeah.
What's up, Devin? Devin recently joined Synergy a couple of weeks ago, just getting started. Have you heard that in our training, Devin, or are you just kind of shooting from the hip there?
Shooting from the hip right now.
Okay. All right. Here's why, guys. Let's just imagine that we have a whole home repipe, and let's throw out a big number. Let's just say it's going to be 40,000 bucks. Okay. So a whole home repipe, 40,000 bucks. Maybe we're doing a few other things for that as well. But $40,000, and the homeowner says they got to think about it. If I was to say something like this, I tell you what, John, this only gets to happen one time in my career, but I've been at this organization over 20 years, and they've shared with me that one time in my entire career, when I meet somebody that I really like, it's kind of like they get to win the lottery with our company, but we do have to charge something. So I tell you what, I like you. I'm going to use up my one golden ticket here on you, but here's the catch. You don't get to think about it. You don't get to sleep on it. You don't get to call your wife. You have to make the decision right now, and here's the offer. It's $1. $40,000 whole home repipe, all the permits, all the guarantees, but it's $1, not a dollar down, not a dollar a day or a week or a month. It is $1. Everything else is going to apply. I'll put it all in writing. We're going to do the $40,000 job. You won the lottery today. Would you like to move forward? You have to decide right now. What does John say in this make-believe situation?
Absolutely.
He better, or he's insane. There's no tricks. I'm going to put it in paper and I'm going to do the job for $1. So here's what I want all of us to start thinking about when somebody says they have to think about it, talk to their spouse, sleep on it, pray about it. Don't make rash decisions. This is the way they've always been. If it was $1, they'll do it. Does that mean they would do it for 10? I think so. Would they do it for 20? Would they do it for 100? Would they do it for 1,000? If they had other bids and everybody else was like, well, this guy's 40, this person's 20, this person's 32, but the best they had was 20 grand. Would they do it for 10 grand? I think so. My point is, it's an I got to think about it objection or an area of concern, but it's a stall because if we truly had earned enough trust, lowered risk, and they thought we were worth it,
What's that?
and they couldn't find anybody else
31.
to do the job the way that we would do it, they
30
would
was
move forward.
forward.
All right. So, I thought somebody was asking me a question. So here's what I'm saying, guys. On this chart that I have on screen, I am not trying to close. I got to think about it. So as I go through this process today, I'm trying to get the homeowner to tell me it's about the money. If I effectively can do that in role plays today on here with real homeowners, I no longer have to be afraid of the I need to think about it objection. I no longer have to chase my tail trying to follow up, getting ghosted, people not answering my text messages, my calls, my emails, when it all seemed great in the home. I can at least have an authentic, real conversation about what the real objection is, which is price. And it's price because of they had some other thing holding them back, and it's somewhere in the trust, it's somewhere in the risk, and it's somewhere in the emotion that we created or didn't create. All right. So now I have some questions for you guys. Let's see if I have another slide here before I go to the board. Okay. So I'm going to share this in a little bit after I walk you through this. I want to ask the audience now, and you guys can unmute if you want. I'm going to ask you the thing that I started the call with today. I'm going to write down at least 3. We can write down 6, 7 things. We might have to then condense them and put them into an umbrella. But if somebody tells you they have to think about it, what is the reason that they have to think about it? There's no wrong answer. You guys are all in business. You're running these calls. You're doing repairs. You're offering hourly rates. You're doing all this. We're all being told people have to think about it, but maybe you've never thought about why they say that. So somebody shout it out. Tell me, what is one of the reasons? Just start throwing them out. And if I miss one, then Bryce will help me out or put it in the chat. What is the reason somebody has to think about it and they won't move forward with us today?
I struggle to see the value in it.
The value. Okay. So I'm going to agree. So the value is the reason that they're struggling to see the value. Would you say that's because the price, right? I mean, if it's a value conversation, it's because they're not sure if the value we're offering is worth the amount of money they're about to spend. Correct? Is that what we mean?
I meant like they can't see how to benefit them, or like that's why they're knocking it back, I suppose.
Okay. So yeah, they're not sure if the benefits are worth the money they're going to spend. So it's a value, it's a price. We come down to the money. Here's how we know this. I'll go back to my example. I'm not sure who was that that's talking. Are you still unmuted? I can only see like 5 people on my screen at a time.
It's Jaden.
Hey, Jaden. On that one where you're not sure they see the value, would you agree that if I offered it to them for $1, they would say, okay, yeah, that's worth the value? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%, mate.
So when I hear value, I'm like, okay, it is a legitimate concern. It's a legitimate objection. So it is a value equals a price objection because the dollar one solves that. If we do it for $1, even if it's a new toilet and we were going to charge 800 or 1500 or whatever it is for the toilet, if we say, okay, I'll do it for $1. I get this lottery ticket for you today, $1. Now the value is far more valuable than the dollar, okay? So that's a price objection. Anybody else? What is another reason that you can think of? And it might also be a version of price, but what's another reason that you can think of that somebody would say they have to think on it, sleep on it, they can't make a decision?
They
The
feel
in-depth
the
and severity of something.
The severity is, what did you say?
Like the in-depth and the severity of something, like if you're trying to do a whole home repipe, like if any holes need to be cut and like it's gonna leave their house in a different state than what it currently is.
Great. That means they have additional questions. Would you agree?
Yep. Stress
They have these
points.
concerns. They're like, hey, you're doing a whole home repipe. Are you going to leave holes? Do I have to get a drywaller? Is that included in your price? There's going to be additional questions. So we could say, okay, there's additional questions. All right. Now let's say it's a whole home repipe, or we could say anything else. Anybody else have any ideas of something else that would keep somebody from moving forward other than a money concern, other than a question about the project itself, holes? Let's say this. Let's say that you have a water treatment system. So you have a water treatment system, but you don't have a single testimonial within a 5 mile radius, and they're on some type of different water service, like they're in a different town. Do you think that that customer would have some, not only some questions, but maybe some worries, some concerns that that water treatment system, although they believe that it's the best in the market, let's say you prove that to them through research, through manufacturing documents, through consumer reports articles, whatever you're using, even if it was working for others, do you think homeowners might be concerned that, yeah, I know it worked for other people, I'm not sure it'll work for me? Do you think that's a situation that could be true? Anybody?
Yep.
Okay. So we're going to say they might have a concern with the product that you're recommending or the service. Are we all in agreement?
Yep.
So we've got questions. They might have additional questions about the project. We were pressed for time. They've got something in their mind. Some other contractor told them something. Their neighbor warned them about something, but they've got questions. Now we answer the questions about the entire installation, the product, all those things. They could still be wondering, is it the right fit for them? I've done 20 years in the HVAC industry. It almost sounds like I did time. It's kind of like that in the HVAC industry. People will say, oh, well, yeah, they got this furnace or that air conditioner, but what if it doesn't work in my house? I have this upstairs room and it never cools off. And how do I know it'll work for me just because it worked for other people? So they don't really have any more questions about us, our company, our warranties, our guarantees, our liability insurance, our people. But they do have a concern that whatever works for others won't work for them. And then they have a money one. Is there anything else? By the way, I'll tell
think
you right
another
now.
one.
Go ahead.
I think another one could be they feel the dissonance and they're trying to get out of it.
Okay. Yeah. And again, if they're feeling dissonance, now it goes back to these three things. We either are earning trust, lowering risk, and we're creating this positive transference of emotion, or negative where they feel too much risk. And so now they have this dissonance of like, should I move forward? So I would agree. The dissonance is probably also value related because, again, if I was to give them the entire system for $1, do you think that would reduce the amount of dissonance, anxiety, concern they have with moving forward? What I'm trying to get everybody to understand today is that it is usually about money. And if it's not about money, it's only one of two other things. They have additional questions that they feel have gone unanswered, which is creating the distrust, the dissonance, that feeling, or they don't have any questions for you. You've been very thorough. They're not so sure that the price is too much. They just didn't want to pay it, but they're not sure the product will work for them. Okay? If you will memorize these three things in this order, you are already about 80% of the way to being able to handle the I got to think about it objection like an absolute boss for the rest of your career. Okay? So I'm going to number these and I'm going to say, okay, the first thing when somebody has to think is, okay, do you have some additional questions? The second thing is, if they say they got to think about it, I'm going to ask them, do you think the product that we've designed to be installed in your home today will work for you in this application, for your family, in your home? Now, it's kind of wordy. I'm just saying, in my mind, I'm eliminating everything they could possibly say about, well, I don't know if the product will work, right? So when I get to this one, I say, do you have any additional questions? No, you don't? If they do, I answer them. If they don't, then I just say, great, I appreciate that. It sounds like you feel like we've been very thorough here today. Do you have any concerns that the product and service that we've designed for you today won't work for you? And I'm going to uncover that. If they do, now we keep the conversation going and we talk through that. Guys, imagine this. Imagine that if you asked that question and that led to another 10 or 15 minutes of very authentic, open discussion with this homeowner. Because if you don't ask that question and it was just something where they were a little bit concerned and they needed you to reassure them of the application and how it will work on this system or well water or city water or whatever it is that you're installing, and they just needed to be reassured. But imagine that you said, okay, I'll email you a bid, and then you never get back in touch with them, and all you had to do was ask them that. The key with I got to think about it, and on this funnel that I showed, is keep the conversation going. Not high pressure, serving them. And then the final one is, I'm going to say, well, if you don't have any questions, and you feel like the product or service that we've designed will do what it's designed to do, and it will work in your home, and if it doesn't, we'll do whatever it takes to make it right. Does it just come down to the money? Is it just about the price? Let me ask you guys on this. You guys have all been doing this a long time, running thousands of service calls and sales leads yourselves, whether it was for your own company now or for somebody else in the past. If I am a plumber, a technician, a business owner, a representative of some kind in somebody's home, and they like me, they trust me, they like what we've designed, but they want me at a cheaper price or they think they can get it for less, and I ask them this price, or I ask them this question about the money, about the price. Let me ask you guys this, honestly. Do we as contractors have a reputation for discounting our jobs in order to get the work? Do we have that reputation? The stereotype of the contractor is that you negotiate with them. I invest a lot of time on my downtime down in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. And the Hispanic culture down there, it's about an hour south of Cancun. The Hispanic culture, as you walk up and down 5th Street, is they're really actually disappointed if you just buy from them at their retail price. They really are. They love the haggle. They love to discount. They price their bags, their handbags and their hats and their sunglasses because it's part of the culture. And so that's the stereotype. You go down there and you should never pay full retail for a trinket or a hat or sunglasses or a handbag for your gal or whatever. They're expecting the negotiation. Do you think that most people are expecting to negotiate with us as plumbers, as contractors? Yes. The answer is yes. And if they're expecting that, and you've done a great job, and they want you to do the job, they just want you to do it for less, that's their fiduciary responsibility, and you ask them after this one, and then you say, does it just come down to the money? And they go, yeah. They're going to say, yeah. Why? Because by you asking them that question, they're going to say yes. And why are they going to say yes? Because they think you're about to drop your price. The next question I ask when they say, yeah, Doug, it's just too much money, I'm going to say, Anybody know what I'm going to teach to say? Anybody that's been in Synergy? Anybody want to tell me what I'm getting ready to write on the board? When they tell me it is the value, the price, I'm going to write a few more things here. The money, and I'm also going to say the wordsmith that we teach in Foundation 3 is the word investment. Anytime I talk about my company, I'm going to call, fix that M there. I'm going to call the money when it comes to a project, a service delivered by me and my team, we're going to call it an investment. Okay. So does anybody want to share the question that we teach here at Synergy to find out how much money is where they would like it to be, or how much more they think we are than we should be? Anybody know the question? I know Wes knows it. I know Bryce knows it. Anybody else want to give it a shot? How much?
If I remember correctly,
Yeah.
is it do you see any value in what I'm bringing?
It might be somebody's system. It's not mine. Here it is. I'm going to go through this with you. Is it Iden, I think?
Idan.
Idan, let's just role play this really quick. If you can, stay unmuted. You're just a little square on my screen back here, but I can kind of see your face a little bit. So let's just say we get down to the end. I ask you for the order and I say, and just tell me you got to think about it, Idan.
Let me think about it.
Okay, Idan, it sounds like you have some concerns and you're not ready to move forward. Most of the time in similar situations, when our customers haven't been ready to move forward, they've shared with us it's one of three things. Either they have additional questions, or maybe they're not quite sure if the product that we've recommended here today and designed with them will actually work in an application in their home, or it just comes down to the price. Let me ask you this, Idan, do you have additional questions? Just for now, say no.
To be honest, no, I don't have any.
No, okay, great. It sounds like you think we've been pretty thorough. Do you feel like the product and the design of what we've put together, you and I today in your home, do you feel like it'll do what it's designed to do when we install it properly?
I'm pretty sure it will.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, we guarantee it. Idan, it sounds like it just comes down to the price. How much too much is it? Let's
I'll
say
be
that
honest.
let's say I'm on a whole home repipe and I'm at 25 large. So I'm at
Okay.
$25,432.21.
I'll be honest. I had another company here. They gave it to me like $5,000 less than that. And it's
All
quite a
right,
sum.
$5,000 less. All right, time out. We're going to come back to this role play in a minute. So somebody other than Edon, we're going to make sure somebody else here was paying attention or maybe taking notes. What is the question after I say, do you have any additional questions? Edon says, no, I can't think of any. Great. Sounds like you feel we've been thorough. Do you think it'll do what we designed it to do together? Yeah, I think it will. Yeah, when installed properly, and we guarantee it. Edon, does it come down to the price? Yeah, it comes down to the price. Now we know we're at 25,000, and then I say how much, and he said 5,000. What was the question that I got out of Edon, the 5,000? What did I ask him? It was 6 words, a 3-part, 2-word cadence. By the way, this comes from Tom Hopkins, wrote a book in 1981 called How to Master the Art of Selling. And this is the first time this question was ever documented. Maybe somebody asked it back in the days of trading camels for cabbage, but Tom Hopkins gets credit for this 3-part, 6-word cadence. Anybody know what it is? I just said it a few minutes ago to get that 5,000 out of Edon. Anyone? Come on. Don't be shy.
How much too much is it?
Who said that? Who was that? You're right. Will you take credit for it if I tell you you're right?
Yeah, that was Bruce.
Bruce. What's up, brother? All right, I got this giant book here. I'm gonna turn to the I gotta think about it objection in this giant book. And then I'm gonna prove to Bruce that he was right. So here we are. We're talking about the stall. I got to think about it. And then we go through a word for word script. 61 seconds takes to deliver it. We film this. And then look at this, Bruce, right there. Can you see it?
Nice.
How much too much is it? Okay. So now we've funneled them right down here with this question. We've created this funnel. And now I'm going to, from price, say How much too much is it? And Edon said what? Anybody can answer. How much too much is my $25,000 repipe? I remember it. It was a lot. It's $5,000. Edon, do you agree?
It
Okay.
is correct.
Let me ask you guys this. We're just really toeing into the I got to think about it here. There's a piece that we have to add before we get to this. We're just building a framework here. We're going to implement some rare listening and foundation 5. So if I go over here, rare listening is foundation 4 as part of our framework. That's where we're going to start when I ask Edon in a moment for the order on the 25,000. We have a 5-part closing sequence that incorporates all of this. But when I ask him that, the first thing I'm going to do with Edon here in a minute is breathe life into his objection. That's going to lower sales resistance. It's going to lower conflict, and it's going to help us, whether it's us running our calls or our guys or gals out there running calls, it's going to make them enjoy their life again because we're not asking them to be hard closers and pushy salespeople. You know what it sounds like in a lot of the sales training I've been through? They teach us, and it makes me want to vomit. They teach us to say things in that moment when the homeowner says, it's a lot of money and I just got to think about it. They teach people to say things like, oh, well, do you have a problem with me? You got a problem with my company? You had a problem with my product? Those are fighting words. And it's no wonder people hate salespeople and sales trainers and sales in general. They hate it. And that's why our guys just want to go out and work with their tools. I'm not going to teach you to do that stuff. We're going to treat people like our own grandmother. So we're going to combine 2 techniques, and really 3, because really all 7 of them, because it's the way we say it, the EKG method. We're going to leverage all of the science of influence in a 61-second role play. We're going to move into the most effective sentence structure after we rare listen. Every word is going to be scripted so that it doesn't create conflict and resistance. It eliminates it. That's called wordsmithing. But it's still going to take a mindset that we're going to stay in the game when somebody tells us they need to sleep on it, instead of just saying, okay, when can I email you? And then the ground rules as we work our way back up is we're not doing anything to manipulate somebody to lie, cheat, or steal. It's going to be to make sure we serve them, high service, not high pressure, treat them like our own family, like our grandmother, okay? So now what I can say is, in the funnel, I'm going to share my screen again just so you guys know where we are. If you look at the funnel, this was an I got to think about it objection. What did I effectively do? Remember when I said, I'm never going to teach somebody to close somebody and I got to think about it. Think about this. How can you ever feel good about hammering somebody in their own home with their own money, with their own project, and somebody tells you they need to think about it, and you just tell them, no, you can't think about it? That's shady, sleazy, old school sales crap. And that's the nice word. What I want to do is I say, I got to get better at this. If I want to do it well and I want to be able to sleep at night, and then I want to create a system for my team that they won't just do because I'm telling them they have to. I want to create a system for my team out there that they actually implement because they believe in it and they feel like they're serving people better. So what I'm going to do is say, all I need to do is keep the conversation going. And if I know in my mind, because I've been thinking about this my entire career, and I'm talking about you as well, there's only 3 reasons that people say no. It's a combination of they don't see the value, the price is too high. They like us, but they want us to do it for less. They're not quite sure if the product we're recommending will actually work in their application. And they have questions. Are there going to be holes? Who does the drywall? What happens if we fix every fixture in my home? They have questions. That's it. And when you ask somebody in the heat of the moment, when tensions are high and anxiety is high, and we're talking about 25 grand, 2,500 or 250, anxiety goes up with a homeowner. Why? Because they're scared of us as contractors. They think they should get a cheaper price. It's almost their responsibility to negotiate, just like it is on 5th Street in Playa del Carmen. So they're like, you know, if I don't negotiate with this guy, I'm not doing my fiduciary responsibility to my own family. And even if I think he's worth it, I've at least got to ask him for a discount. Those are the kind of things that are going through people's mind when they deal with us as contractors. What I can promise everybody on here, The homeowner is not the problem. A lot of us have gotten so jaded in this industry that we wake up hating, despising the people that actually pay us our paycheck. If not for the customers calling and needing us to do their plumbing projects, we don't have a business. And so what I encourage you to do is say, guys, sales, business, plumbing, it is this type of game. And the game that we have to get really good at is homeowners are going to call us out. They're going to act like our jobs aren't that hard and they could do it if they had the time. And, they just don't have the time, so they needed us to do it. Whatever, all this stuff we hear all the time. And then at the end, no matter how much they like us, no matter how much they trust us, they're still going to tell us their little game is to say, well, I got to think about it. I got to talk to the wife. I got to sleep on this. I don't like to make rash decisions. I'm not familiar with the brand. I need to do some research. You're the first one in. I got to get some other bids. It's a game, but the game that they're playing is they want the most for the least. We have to get really good at this third pillar in our industry, which is effective communication. These objections, bids, brands, stalls, and price, they're never going away, and they're only going to get worse. They have gotten worse in our industry since the advent of the internet. As Google searches have become refined, they've gotten worse. With ChatGPT and Gemini and everything else, people are putting that in there, and you guys can say it. Those prices are not right. Wherever they're drawing those prices from are the cheap competitors. So I can tell you, the villain in the story here is not the customer. The villain in the story is the cheap competitors and the Chat GPTs and the Google searches based on the cheap competitors that are teaching our customers that we should be half our price. That's the villain in the story. We have to go in there without all this angst and this vim and vigor and just this almost like I hear contractors talk about like customers like they're the enemy. We're in business to generate leads and marketing from these customers. Let's keep the conversation light. Let's remember that these are the people that are going to help us to do what we love to do and retire one day. So what do? We stay calm. But before we get there, guys, this is what most sales training teaches. They tell you when somebody like Edon says, yeah, Doug, I like you, I just got to think about it. Other sales programs teach you to go straight to the rebuttal, okay? That would be like in the rare listening sequence if I said, don't worry about repeating back to them what they said so that you can clarify what they meant. Don't worry about acknowledging their emotion and the feelings that they have and the anxiety they have. Don't repeat, rephrase, relate to them. R squared is rephrase and relate. It would be jumping all the way to the end to the E, and in rare expresses, that's where we rebuttal. What I'm going to do now is say the first thing that we do when we get here is before we ever get here, we got to start, we're farther over here on the funnel. So now, Edon, will you play along for a little bit with me? Okay. So, if you will, so now I get down to the end. The 5-part closing sequence finishes its synergy with this ask. Edon, the only question I have left for you here today is, will you trust me with the project? I'm going to back that up one more. Right before that, step 4 is restate your ultimate guarantee. And then right before that is the ultimate price. That's the total price. I'm going to call that the investment, okay? So Edon, I'm going to start with step 3 in the Synergy 5-part close. I'm going to tell you how much it is. Then I'm going to restate my ultimate guarantee if everything I promised you doesn't work out as I promised. And then I'm going to ask you for the order. Because we're working through I got to think about it today, and we're going to stay focused on that one, believe me, we have just as much training on every one of these and multiple ways to handle each of them. We're just doing one thing today. Edon, I just want you to tell me some form. You got to think, sleep, pray. You got to think about it. Okay. So we're not doing a bids. We're not doing a brand. We're not doing a spouse. We can role play at the end of this and I'll do them all if you want. We're training. And I got to think about it. Okay. You ready?
So you want me to just not to object just without saying the spouse?
Right. Don't tell me you're like, believe me, we could do another 2-hour one on this next week or next month with Jared and just do spouse. But let's stay focused so that we can really drill down. My goal, guys, this is how I've won national awards as a heating and air conditioning contractor. I didn't have my team studying all of them every week. That would just be unfair to say, guys, go memorize this 250-page book and come back in next week and have it mastered. What I do is I say, guys, you have 7 days. I'm going to give it to you on audio. I'm going to give it to you on video. I'm going to give it to you on script. I'm going to tell you what our exact intention is, and I'm going to give you a coaching video on it. Then I'm going to do this kind of thing for an hour. And then when my guys walk in next week on a Tuesday morning, every one of them is going to role play. They're not surprised. They know they're going to do this. And they're going to know why, because I broke it down to the just ridiculous amount of detail. So when my guys walk in, we're just practicing that one. So Edon, yes, just I got to think about it for this moment, okay?
Tell you what, let me think about it.
Okay, so here's where we're going to start. So when Edon tells me he's got to think about it in a minute, I am not going to my rebuttal, okay? I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to be in my rare listening. So I'm going to write it bigger so you guys can see it, okay? Rare, there's actually 2 R's, and then E. The E is all of this, okay? This is my rebuttal, that's my express. So this is repeat whatever Edon says. It's going to be, I'm going to abbreviate this, acknowledge, and here's the key word, emotion. So we're going to acknowledge the emotion, okay? So you've got acknowledge, and then you've got emotion, and then I'm going to relate to what he's saying, and then I'm going to rephrase what he's saying. I don't have to do all of them. We're just going to keep it natural. And then this is express. And this is what most sales training teaches, is just the rebuttal. When you do just a rebuttal in sales training, you are creating and raising conflict. You are starting a fight with your homeowner. In their mind, in their emotional state, they want to fight you, but it's going to sound like this. Oh, okay, yeah, sounds good. I tell you what, why don't you call me next week and we'll probably go with you. And if you get ghosted, that means when you went straight to your rebuttal and you said something like, well, do you have a problem with me? Do you have a problem with my company? Where do I need to be? What would you do it for? That's this. And that's old school sales training. That's not what works. It's not what we teach. That will get you thrown out of homes, or at the very least, it's just not going to get them calling you back. So if you're getting ghosted, you're probably trying the best you know, but they're like, oh, I don't like that guy. I got down to the end and I can't stand him. I'm never listening to him again. I'm not calling him. I'm not talking to him. So what we're going to do to fix that is the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do a combo of this, 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 and this. So where we're going to start is on step 3. I'm going to give you the price, Edon. I'm going to build back with my guarantee. I'm going to ask you for the order, and now you're going to tell me you got to think about it. You ready? The total investment is $25,432.10. And Edon, if everything that I've promised you here today doesn't happen exactly as I've shared with you that it will, we will move heaven and earth to make things right. Edon, the only question I have left for you here today is, will you trust me with this project?
Trust me, I really want to. I have to think about it.
Okay. It sounds like this is a big concern. See how I did an acknowledgement of his emotion. So I said, it sounds like you have some concerns, and then I'm going to do a rephrase. He said, I got to think about it, and I'm going to do a rephrase, and I'm not going to say, I could say, it sounds like you have some concerns and you need to think about it. I'm going to be a little bit better than that as a true professional, and I'm going to say this. Edon, it sounds like you have some concerns and you're not ready to move forward. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Now watch this. Before Edon says anything else, this is what I call psychological air. I'm literally breathing life into his objection. And as I breathe life into his objection, Edon's nervous system starts to settle. Sales resistance starts to drop. It's magic. Instead of him like putting up the dukes and like ready to fight the guy across the table, he's like, wow, this guy's really listening to me. Yeah, I do have concerns and it is a big deal. And then so then I ask him another question. Do it again. Let's start with, will you trust me? You tell me you got to think about it. Now you guys know in my rare listening, I'm either going to repeat, acknowledge the emotion, relate, or rephrase. But I am not going into my rebuttal yet. I got to make Edon feel cared for. I have to seek first to understand. I got to breathe life into the objection. What most of us have been trained to do, and this is what our people hate, is we are taught to minimize the objection. And people hate it. Everyone hates it. When you come back and you say, well, Edon, on a monthly price, the monthly that you qualify for in the payment is only $251 a month. You're going to talk about another person's money in their home, their budget, with a word like only. You are destroying your opportunity. You're creating resistance. So, Edon, you're going to hit me with the I got to think about it again. We're going to practice this one more time. Edon, will you trust me with this project?
As much as I would love to, I really have to think about it.
Okay. Edon, it sounds like this is a big decision. Pause. I just rephrased what he said. What did you say, Edon, that time? It's a really big decision, or what did you say?
Yeah, I would love to. I just can't at the moment. Just need to think about it.
I would love to. I just can't. So then I do a rephrase, and I go, a rephrase is, so it sounds like it's a really big decision. Is that right, Edon?
Sir.
Now I'm going to do a relate, but I'm never going to say I understand. Here's what I am going to say with a relate. Edon, while I think I can at least relate, every situation is different. And quite frankly, I can't imagine what this is like for you. Now, that was the relate. So now I've done a rephrase and relate. This time I'm going to come back and now I'm going to add the emotion. And that word is going to be concern. And Edon, if I'm hearing you correctly, it sounds like you have some concerns about moving forward. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Boom! Now we're almost ready to go to our rebuttal. Now Edon's anxiety level, his body, his vibrational state, instead of like, this guy's not listening. I just told him I had to think about it, and he's still trying to close me. What I did was I shared with him that I am a man of character, that I am listening, that I care about him, that I didn't just have my own agenda and I just came in and I just started pounding him and closing him and like, hey, what do we need to do to get this deal? None of that. That is not the way I would treat my grandmother, so that's not the way we're going to treat our customer. So now, Edon, we're going to ready to move on to the next thing, okay? So we're still over here. Now we're going to go into Foundation 5. Foundation 5 here, I'm going to put an F05. Foundation 5 is what we call the most effective sentence structure. The least effective way to talk in these moments is to say words like I think or you should. When we go into second person and things like you should, we call that critical parent or mother-in-law mode, and it's negative. I want you to imagine that your mother-in-law says something like, hey, Edon, I think that you should maybe take Jenny out for a few nice dinners every once in a while and treat her the way that she deserves to be treated. That's what I think you should do. How do you feel when your mother-in-law speaks to you like that about your woman, Edon?
She doesn't, but I get it.
Right. That's second person language. So what we're going to do, we are not going to speak to our customers like that either because it doesn't feel good, right? Try this one. Edon, are you in a relationship with a significant other?
Yes, I am. Thank God.
All right. I want you to get home tonight and, or the next time that you and your significant other are in some type of a little tiff, I want you to look at them and say, you should calm down.
Okay.
How's that going to work for you?
My wife is Colombian, so not very well.
Yeah, the next time that we're on The Wealthy Plumber and I ask you if you have a significant other, you're going to say, no, Doug, I did what you asked and now I'm divorced. Okay? We don't speak to people in the second person and say you should. What we do is we go into third person and we leverage social proof and we talk about anyone else, anyone but us or them at this kitchen table or in this home. And so the way we do that, the most effective sentence structure is to leverage principles in Foundation 6, the science of influence, and we're going to leverage social proof. We're still going to remain the authority because we know what other people are doing, and we're going to leverage likability because when we say things like you should, that does not make us likable, and people buy from those they like and trust. So here's what it is going to sound like. Down here, after I rare listen, I'm going to say something like this. I'm going to do a generalization going into third person sentence structure, and I'm going to say most of our customers, when they're not ready to move forward or they have concerns, and so now I'm talking about anyone else but me or them, when they aren't ready, they have shared. Now we're back into wordsmithing. Shared, not told us. We're going to use nice words like share. They've shared with us. It's one of three things. Anybody want to tell me what those three things are? Come on, anybody. What are the three things that other customers are sharing with us is the reason they're not ready to move forward?
They've got additional questions. They're not sure if it's the right recommendation or it's just the price.
Right on, Logan. Thank you. All right. So now we're here. So now we're going to get the objection. We're going to plug in all of our ground rules, all of our foundations. We're not lying, cheating, or stealing. We're going to treat people like our grandmother. We're going to have the mindset to stick in there instead of just saying, okay, I'll email you a bid and then get ghosted. And then we're going to go in, and every word has to be wordsmith. So we keep resistance down and we use emotional words that create positive emotions. And then we're going to go into foundation 4 and we're going to rare listen. After we rare listen, we go into foundation 5 with third person sentence structure, leveraging foundation 6 with consistency, authority, likability, and social proof, all in that one sentence. And then we're going to tell them what other people are doing. This is how we're the authority, leveraging social proof, just like 5-star reviews. This is what other people, not in the same situation, by the way. Nobody wants to be the same. They want to be unique. So when they say, I never say I completely understand, and I never say the same. So as I role play this, you're going to hear me say things like, most of our customers. I'm not going to speak in definitive terms. I'm going to hedge a little. I'm going to say most instead of all of our customers. Anytime we speak in definitive terms, the person that we're speaking to, it could be our wife, our kid, our teenager, our young kid. If we say, you never help with the dishes. If we've been married 30 years and we haven't helped with the dishes in 29 years, and our wife says to us, Don, you never help with the dishes. Your brain is going to pull the file from 29 years ago, the one night that you got up, turned off the game, and helped with the dishes. That's the way the human brain works. So never say always, never say never. Don't use definitive terms. So I'm going to say most of our customers in similar situations, when they aren't ready to move forward or they have concerns, again, I'm repeating, rephrasing some of the things they just told me, they've shared with us that it's one of three things. They either have additional questions, they're unsure if the product that we've built and recommended is going to work for them, or it just comes down to the investment. And then I'm going to repeat those three things back to them, and I'm going to say, Don, which one of those do you think it is for you? Do you have additional questions? He's going to go, no, man, you've been very thorough. I can't think of a thing. As long as you've been thorough and haven't raced through your process. And then I'm going to say, thanks, I appreciate that. It sounds like you feel like we've been thorough. I do a little repeat, a little rephrase. And then I say, do you think the product, and I bring him into the story, do you think the product that we've designed together will do the things that we've outlined for it to do? Yeah, I think it will. Great. Don. And then I want him. This is where most of us go wrong. We don't want to talk about money. We don't want to talk about price. I do. We got to move them down the funnel. We got to get them to talk about the real thing, which is price. So what do? I'm going to say, Don, is it just about the money? And he's going to say, yeah. Why is he going to say yeah? Because everything in his mind says contractors negotiate, contractors discount. I got to get the most for my money. This guy's going to give me a break. So he's going to go, yeah, it's about the money. And then I'm going to say, Don, how much too much is it? And then he's going to say, well, Doug, it's $5,000 too much. And now we're moving on to one of the price objections. I will go through today, since I just love it. I'm going to show you how easy it is to keep the conversation going when Don tells me it's $5,000 too much. I'm going to give you a technique called dollarize the value and reduce to the ridiculous. This is math, guys. If we're in the business of contracting and selling our products or services, I honestly cannot imagine running any business of any kind that does what we do in the trades and not have a prepared, perfect response for a $5,000 too much, a $1,000, a $500, a $20,000 too much. This will work in any situation. We're going to take the lifespan of whatever product that we're installing. We're going to divide it out by the number of weeks. That's called reducing to the ridiculous. And then we're going to talk about a number. Okay. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. I'll show you how that is before we get off of here. I see that, gosh, we're already an hour and 20 in. Okay. But we'll get to that before we go, just so you guys have it on recording. All right. You ready to hear the all the way through? Is everybody ready to hear the whole thing? I mean, literally, it is a framework. And when people tell me, Doug, I don't want to be on script, I'm like, listen, scripts aren't the problem. A lack of preparedness, a lack of being ultimately prepared is the challenge. Scripts are not the problem. Zig Ziglar said every word out of a salesperson's mouth should be scripted, but never should one word sound as though it is. All I'm saying is, if you're struggling with these things, we figured it out decades ago. All you have to do is plug you and your team into this stuff and practice it until it's just on autopilot, but we can't ever let it be on autopilot where it sounds that way, because now we're flatlining. The EKG method of performance says if you sound flat, if you sound dead, you are dead. So if the EKG method, if the EKG at the hospital and electrocardiogram goes beep, you're dead. And so we got to perform these scripts. All right, Edon, you ready?
Always.
Edon, the total investment for the repipe is going to be $25,432.10. And Edon, if everything that I've shared with you here today doesn't happen exactly as I've promised you that it will, we will move heaven and earth in order to make things right. Edon, the only question I have left for you here today is, will you trust me with the project?
I'll be honest, Doug, as much as I want to, I still need to think about it.
Okay. Edon, it sounds like it's a big decision and you're just not quite ready to move forward. Is that right?
It's true, sir.
It sounds like you have some concerns that maybe we've yet to address, and maybe the project's just more than what you were anticipating.
I'll be honest, you answered everything I have. I really need to think about it.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I mean, listen, you can think about it as long as you want. Most of the time in similar situations, Edon, when customers have shared with us that they're not ready to move forward and they need to sleep on it a bit or think about it, as you state, they've shared with us that it's usually one of three things. Either they have additional questions, or maybe that what we've designed together, they're not quite sure if it'll work in the application with them and their situation, or it just comes down to the investment. Edon, you just shared with me that you don't really have any questions. So you can't think of anything else as far as questions to ask or things that we haven't covered?
Nothing that I can come up with. I think we talked about everything.
I appreciate you sharing that, Edon. It sounds like you feel like we've been very thorough, and we do
Absolutely.
pride ourselves in that. Yeah. What we've designed here with the whole home repipe and everything that we've outlined, do you feel like that if we did complete the project for you, it would do everything that we've promised?
If everything will come up as we talked about, absolutely.
Absolutely. And of course, as I mentioned, we guarantee that and we'll put it in writing. It sounds like maybe it just comes down to the money. Is that right? Is it really about the price?
Yes, to be honest with you, yes. It's a little bit too higher than what I was expecting.
A little bit higher.
Yes, sir.
Edon, it is a significant investment. $25,432.10. It's a lot. It's a lot of money.
Sure is.
Let's get this, Edon. How much too much is it?
I'll be honest, I did get an offer that was $5,000 less than what you gave me.
Whoa, 5,000 more.
It's a lot.
Wow. Yeah, that is a lot. So you had somebody else come in and give you a $5,000 quote.
$5,000 less.
Oh, 5,000 less, right? Okay. It is significant. Let me ask you this, Edon. Earlier we were chatting about the guys that'll come in here and cut corners and put your family at risk, not allowing you the peace of mind, and a lot of the things that these other guys can do in order to get the price down, and either the type of materials that they use or the labor, where they're not putting their guys through ongoing training and making sure that their teams are drug tested and licensed, carrying the right amount of workers' compensation, liability insurance. Companies that the guarantees that they provide aren't worth the paper that they're written on. And you had shared with me a couple of the other bad experiences you'd had with contractors. We're certainly not the kind of company that is going to do it on the cheap, but we do guarantee that we're going to do it right. Now, let me ask you this, Edon. Well, $5,000 is a significant investment. If you think about the product that we're recommending today, and you think about the life expectancy of this whole home repipe, I mean, what we're doing, we feel when properly installed, properly maintained, the work that we do here at Synergy Home Services, we feel comfortable that it's going to last more than 20 years. If you take that 20 years and you look at the number of weeks in a year, I mean, we know there's 52, but just for easy math, I'm not that great at math. If we were just to say 50 weeks a year over 20 years, the life expectancy of this project, and then some, that's about 1,000 weeks. Edon, when you think about that $5,000 difference, and you divide that out over 20 years, 1,000 weeks, Edon, that works out to be about $5 a week. Do you think that everything that we bring to the table here at Synergy, the way we conduct our business, the way that Chris and Holly have been here in the community, owning Synergy Home Services and giving back to the community, the type of men that we hire, the drug testing, the background checks, the way we guarantee our work and stand behind it, our 500 five-star reviews, do you think that maybe, just maybe, all of that combined, the peace of mind that you and Jenny are going to have, knowing the job was done right, do you think that might be worth the cost of a burger at the drive-thru once a week?
When you put it that way, I completely understand. You do bring a lot of value, but it's still a lot of money.
Yeah, it is. I tell you what, why don't we go ahead and get the paperwork started? Let's get the installation day picked out. Let's give you and Jenny the peace of mind that this job is done right by a fully licensed contractor where every man that sets foot on your property has been drug tested, is going to do the job right. And if we do mess something up, you don't have to call the Call for Action news folks or file a bunch of one-star reviews or, God forbid, hire an attorney, and know that you chose the right company to do the job right for the cost of a burger once a week. Fair enough?
Fair.
Great. Why don't I go ahead and get the paperwork started? I'll call back to the facility. We'll get this scheduled for installation, and we'll pick out a date and get started on this project as soon as possible. We really appreciate the trust, Edon, and we know that you're going to be very pleased knowing that you chose the right team.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Guys, listen, is it going to work every time? No. What I say is the market is divided into thirds. There's about a third that's going to go cheap, a third that's going to go on value, and there's a third that could go either way. They're going to swing like a pendulum. The better we get at this third pillar, effective communication, a framework of communicating with people like we would our grandmother, the mindset, the wordsmith, the rare listening, the sentence structure, the cadence, the EKG, the principles of persuasion that science has been sharing with us, how the brain works and how we make decisions. We're not doing this to manipulate. We are doing this because I believe that we have a responsibility to get in front of these people that have been confused by our customers that are saying, oh, somebody else will do it cheaper. Of course they will. We are not pricing ourselves so that we can go buy a yacht. We are pricing ourselves so that we can hire great people, compensate them well, use the best materials, show up on time, dispatch our team through giant software packages, have a website, have marketing, man those phones, provide a high level of service. Everything that we do costs money. When I hear that somebody is 10%, 15, 20% less than me, I know one of two things are happening. Either they're undermanned, they're underpriced, or they're just not going to do the great work that we're going to do. But they have to be cutting corners because I'm not pricing my job so far up here that I'm just doing it to be greedy and get rich off the backs of the people that are out there paying me to serve them. So if you believe you're worth it, if you believe you're not gouging customers, And you're just like, I'm just trying to get by here. Like when I meet with my CPA, it's the most miserable day of my month because there's not enough money left over. There's still month, there's still employees, there's still payroll, there's still taxes, there's still bills, and I don't have anything left. And I'm out here taking home equity lines of credit just to keep my business going and make sure payroll goes through. That is no life to live. And I'm telling you, the only way to solve that is to get better in these moments where we're not giving away the last 10% of our job. If you think about this and you go, okay, I'm at 25,000. If I price match this cheap competitor because I didn't know how to do these things and I didn't have the mindset, the training for my team to do them, if I drop 10%, he's asking me for 2,500 off. If I drop to this price of my cheap competitor, I'm giving 20% off. Nobody has 20% off to give our customers consistently. I can say that with confidence because I've been a contractor for 20 years. I've won national awards, and 3 months after I won my first Linux Partner of the Year, we almost closed our doors because we were growing so fast and plowing money into 3 new Dodge vans and wraps and Mastercraft shelving and 15,000 in inventory and new uniforms and iPads and more Service Titan licenses. And all of a sudden, it's like everybody was getting paid but our supply houses. And so I said at that moment, guys, we're never going to discount again. We're not going to waive a diagnostic. We're not going to waive anything. We're going to get better at presenting value. And we're not going to do it high pressure, manipulative ways, old school ways. We're going to plug it into a framework, and all of us are going to work on mastery. And I would say to my team, if I give you a 61-second role play and you come back here 7 days from now and you don't have it mastered, you can't work here because these leads are liquid gold. I'm not asking them to master 300 or 250 pages a week. I'm saying 1 or 2 of these 60-second role plays a week. By the end of the year, if you do 1 a week, you got 52 of them nailed. If you do 2 a week, you got 104 of them nailed. And imagine where you'd be 2 or 3 years from now. But when I say to people, okay, you got a pretty good team, tell me what you say when a homeowner says, I got to think about it. What do your guys say? Would they be able to say it? If I asked them right now, could they jump in midstream? If I said, what are the 3 reasons people can't make a decision? My team should be able to say, they either have additional questions, it's not the right product or service, or it's about the money. If I said, yeah, but before you do that, what would you do? You'd say, well, it sounds like you have some concerns and you're not quite ready to move forward. And then if they said, well, yeah, we got to think about it. This is a lot more than we thought. Yeah, it is a lot. It's a repeat. It's a rephrase. It is a significant amount of money. And then I'm going to go into Foundation 5 and I would say, what would you say there to cross this bridge before you go into questions, product or service price? And then they're going to go, most of our customers in similar situations, instead of saying, you don't understand the value that we bring. We don't allow our guys to talk in second person. And I don't just keep telling them what I think because nobody likes to be talked to that way. So I go to anybody else and I go, most of our customers in similar situations have shared with us when they have concerns and they're not ready to move forward that it's 1 of 3 things. They either still have some additional questions, they're concerned that the recommendation that we made won't work in this application in their home, or it just comes down to the price. Which one of those do you think it is for you? Do you have additional questions? If they do, bam, I stop right there and we dive into whatever those questions are. We answer them. And when I've answered them, I go, great. Well, it sounds like we've been able to take care of that. Why don't we go ahead and start on the paperwork? We'll get you started. No, Doug, I just need to think about it. Oh, so you still have some things to think about. So it sounds like now you don't have any more questions. Do you think that what we've designed here and the questions that we were just able to answer, do you think it'll do what we promised? Oh, yeah, Doug, I think it will. So it just comes down to the price. Yeah, it's just more than we thought. It is a lot. How much too much is it? $5,000 too much, $7,000, $2,000. All I know is they're doing their fiduciary responsibility. I'm not mad about it. I'm not angry about it. I don't get too excited. I'm not on the roller coaster. I'm just cool, calm, chill, because I know what my next process is because I've mastered that third pillow, and I'm talking about my team too. And then we just go, $5,000, that's a lot of money. I'm going to build back my value. After I build my value, I'm going to say, the life of the system, 20 years. If it's a tankless water heater, by the way, I'll give you that one really quick. Let's say that I'm at $9,000 on a tankless and somebody tells me somebody else will do it for $2,000. In that situation, I have a choice. I could do life expectancy of 20 or I could do warranty of 10. If I do warranty of 10, can we role play that really quick, Edon? I'm going to ask you for a tankless water heater. I'm at 9,000 and some change. You tell me I'm $2,000 or $3,000 too high. So we're just going to go down here and I'm going to say, So it doesn't sound like you have any additional questions, Edon. You think the tankless water heater will provide endless hot water, providing water for you and your wife and the kids. No more fights on school day mornings. You're going to be able to have your whole family over during the Christmas holidays like you like to have. Run the dishwasher, run the washer. 3 people can shower at once in 3 different showers.
Of course.
And 3 different showers. You're never going to run out of hot water. It sounds like it just comes down to the money. Edon, how much too much is it?
To be honest with you, Doug, I actually had other company here. They actually quoted me $3,000 less than the 9,000. With some significant amount.
$3,000 less.
Yes, sir.
That is a significant amount. I mean, in fact, as a percentage of the job, you're talking about a third less. That's 33% less. I mean, I can't even imagine how they would do that.
With this economy.
Yeah, I mean, just the parts, the warranties, the guarantees, the professional people, the installs, the materials that we use, the liability insurance, the workers' comp, we would go out of business if we were doing them for that amount. Let me ask you this. When you think about a perfectly installed system with the warranties and guarantees, the things that we do, the way we run our company, the way that Edon and Jenny are part of the community here and serve our community and been here for years, and their commitment to excellence and the kind of people we hire and train and put in your property and the license that we carry and the insurance that we hold. If you think about a tankless water heater with a 10-year warranty, probably have a 20-year lifespan, but let's just focus on the 10. The 10-year warranty over those 10 years, 52 weeks a year, but I'm not great at math. Let's just call it 50 weeks. If I multiply that by 10 years, 50 weeks times 10, that's about 500 weeks. Would you agree?
Yes, sir.
You know, Edon, if we divide out that $3,000 that this other company is offering you for, I can't even imagine what they're saying they're going to do, but for $3,000 less, you divide that out over the 10 years, 500 weeks, that $3,000 works out to be about $6 a week. I mean, Edon, that's the cost of a sub sandwich, and probably not even including tax.
I don't do Subway, but I agree with you. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that tuna down at Subway, by the way, has been tested to not even be tuna. So let me use a different example. 1 cup of foo-foo drink down at Starbucks, $6. Do you think that the entire system, endless hot water, no more fights on school day mornings with you and your kids, being able to not only have your family over for the holidays and everybody will be able to use as much hot water as they want, but the peace of mind to know that a company like ours is not only going to stand behind our work, but our company is going to be here for the long term, just in case anything went wrong. Do you think all of that might just be worth $6, the cost of 1 foo-foo drink at Starbucks once a week?
Doug, I love you. I really do. I told you, it's a lot of money. And Christmas is around the corner.
Yeah. So then we would go in, and that's why I say there's all kinds of ways. I don't want to get you guys confused because now if I go in, just so you know, here's the dilemma that I face as a trainer. People start looking at me as a sales trainer instead of a contractor. I'm a contractor that learned these things and then built a contracting business twice, and now I teach it to other contractors. If I go further right now without doing another hour and a half on what I would do next, the risk is now, instead of everyone taking value out of this call, you're like, oh, that sounds like high pressure, pushy sales. But if I build it out and I show you the template for the next 90 minutes, you're going to be like, oh my God, I think that would work. I wish my guys could say that because we'd be crushing it. And you would. And that's how we won awards. We focused on this. Now, to be clear, the 3 pillars, my team, absolute professionals at the technical side, the first pillar, and we put them in ongoing consistent training to make sure they were always up to speed. We had very few recalls, callbacks. Then we had a team that was constantly working every single day to get better on the admin, the operations. That's the second pillar. That is admin, ops, marketing, everything. But it's that third pillar. The third pillar is going to be the difference in us leaving a legacy, being able to sleep at night, knowing that we're taking care of customers, but that we have a plan put together. There's no way we would go into this business and just go, okay, I'm going to get really good at how to talk to people and sell them, but once we sell them, we don't know how to do any of this stuff. And we'll just try to collect as much money as we can and then bolt from town because you don't know how to do the installs. Nobody would do that. And you likewise wouldn't say, well, we're going to do all the great work, but we're not going to collect any of the money. And we don't need an accountant and a bank. And We don't need to get our licenses, and we don't need to organize our business and buy our trucks. You wouldn't do that. The one thing that we do is say, well, we know how to do the work, and we're going to focus on admin and operations, and none of us want to be salespeople, and none of us want to study. What I would say to my team is I would say, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to study. We have to study. Because if we don't study, I'm not asking you to learn that, in 1892, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, and I probably got that wrong. 1792, I don't know, 17, we're at the 250th year. All I see, I don't care. I hated school. But when I look at my team and I go, guys, gals, every call that comes in is the next most important call in the history of our business. Every word must be meticulously analyzed, practiced, and role played so that when a live call comes in, we have every opportunity to schedule that call with that homeowner. And then once we do every part of the process, from our call ahead to our door knock, to our entryway, to our diagnostic, to getting them back to the table, to presenting our options, to asking for the order, and then come hell or high water, people are always going to tell us, I got to get 3 bids. You're the first one in. I got to talk to my spouse. It's too high. I need to sleep on this. Think about it. I don't make rash decisions. It's never going away. So my encouragement is to everyone here, we got to work to master this stuff.
Hey, Doug, I know Don just raised his hand, but we also have another question in the chat that's asking, does this sales process require huge warranties to match the expected life expectancy? The expected life expectancy?
No, is that in the chat?
It's in the chat. Yep.
Okay, Anthony
Scroll up a tad
says,
bit.
I second the print off. I don't know what that means. I must have missed something. But also, does this sales process require huge warranties to match the expected life expectancy? No. Listen, if you do good work, here's what I'm saying. When I was installing furnaces and air conditioners, our team was, I can't tell them the life expectancy on a furnace in Denver is 20 years. I mean, they don't make them like they used to. I hope it does. So what I can say is we feel very comfortable that if properly installed by our professional technicians with ongoing maintenance, properly maintained, that this unit should last you over 20 years. I feel very confident in that. If I was in Houston, Texas, selling air conditioners and I had a lot of salt coming in from the Gulf or anywhere on a coastal state, I'm not going to tell people their air conditioner is going to last 20 years. So these things, you got to, we'll talk about that. But here's what I would say. If you install a 50-gallon water heater, a tanked water heater, that's going to come with a 6-year warranty. I've heard some people are doing 8. You can add the anode rods. You get a choice there to say, over the life of the system, here's what I am saying to Anthony and everybody else that has this question. Whatever your warranties, guarantees are right now, you can apply this and just simply say, if somebody was like, your water heater at 50 gallons, you're at 3,500, and I got a quote for somebody at 25, you're $1,000 too much. Take what I just shared, and this wasn't even the point of today. We were just moving to this part, so I didn't really go down the rabbit hole. We can do this next time. And you can always get a hold of us here at Synergy and just have the whole smorgasbord of everything we've created. But here's the thing. If I have a water heater that's $1,000 more and I got a 6-year warranty, you guys already heard me say a couple times I'm not good at math. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm at the home with the homeowner. I ask them for $3,500 on a 50-gallon, and then they tell me another guy will do it for $2,500. I go through the whole thing that I just shared here. Wow, yeah, it is significant. It's $1,000. When you think about the life expectancy of that water heater, at least 6 years is the warranty. If I take 6 years and multiply that by 52 weeks, that works out to be about 312 weeks. If I take that $1,000 and I divide that by the 312 weeks that warranty is going to last, that works out to be about $3.20 a week. I think it's a little blurry. $3.20 a week. And then I'm just going to ask them a question. And by the way, the real part of this technique that I want you guys to make sure you understand, please, please, please never ask them, do you think my company or my water heater is worth $3.20 a week? Change the name of the game to some product that they can agree that is a waste of money, that they could go without. A burger at the drive-thru, a fufu coffee, a black coffee at Starbucks. I would do this at $3.20. I would say something like this. Anthony, do you think that everything that we've shared today, having a company like ours install this 50-gallon water heater, even though it's a little bit more than this competitor, do you think that everything that we bring to the table, the peace of mind, having it done right, your gas, your flue, all those things that we're going to be working on in your home with professionally trained technicians, do you think the peace of mind alone might be worth $3.20 a week over the life of the warranty on this water heater? The cost of a Snickers bar as you check out at Walmart? And I'm always going to do that on a downtone. I'm going to create like what I call a duh question where it's really hard. Just like even though Edon wanted to say no, it's literally like Nostradamus. And my team's on here laughing because it's like, I can predict when you go through this entire sequence, and it only takes about 60 to 120 seconds when mastered. When you go through this entire sequence, you go, how much too much is it? And then you go through another 60 to 120 seconds, kind of circling the wagon around the mountain. And then you come back and you just say, and then I slow my pattern of speech. This is why the EKG method is so important. Foundation 7, I slow my pattern of speech. I go into more of a downtone. I get more serious, even though I've been smiling. And I say something emotional. I got to hit on an emotive term. Do you think that the peace of mind knowing that you chose the right company with professionally licensed technicians, having those guys on your property, doing the job right, do you think all of that is worth $3.20 a week, the cost of a pack of Tic Tacs at the local gas station? And you know what? Nostradamus, in that moment, all I can tell you, when you get good at this, the homeowner is going to say, just like Edon did, we didn't plan this. Edon, swear, we did not talk before this. Edon did not know what I was going to ask him. I just roll the dice and say, let's role play with somebody live.
Never
He
met you
said
in my life.
exactly 99 times out of 100 when you do this, he said exactly what I knew he would say, and that is, well, when you put it like that, I mean, I guess I hadn't thought it like that. And then as soon as he pauses, I smile, I shrug my shoulders very gently, and I go, well, with your permission, why don't we go ahead and start on the paperwork and pick out an installation day? Fair enough. And then I go back on a high voice, makes it really hard for him to say no. And he goes, okay, let's do it. And if he doesn't, I'm just in one more of my rebuttals, and I'm gonna do all this again. He's gonna hit his rebuttal. No, Doug, it's just a lot. I got to think on it. But I'm not just gonna go into price, right? And then these rebuttals, right? And if he says, I got to get 3 bids, right? We're gonna go to our 3 bid script, and then we're gonna work on this. And every single week, we're gonna work on a small, manageable, bite-sized chunk. And so that's why it doesn't matter. And here's the thing, guys. If I ask for the order professionally and respectfully, 3-4 times on every service call and every sales lead forevermore, and I do it with proven scripting, proven role plays in the trades. I'm not some real estate guy. I'm not some banker. I'm not some software salesman. I'm a contractor. This is what I've been doing for 20 years. 10,000 service calls. I'm sorry, 10,000 calls that I've listened to and coached on. Thousands of service and sales leads over the last 20 years. We've refined, we've defined, we've perfected the ways to lower sales resistance. And then, like when Anthony asked me this question, if I was in mortgages or something, I'd be like, I don't know how to answer that. Here, I'm just like, hey, you want to go with 6 years? I can get you to $3.20 a week and ask the same question. You want to say with proper maintenance? I mean, right now, your water heater is a 50-gallon and it lasted 17 years. It's now rusting out the bottom and needs new B-vent. We could either go to a tankless that has a 10-year warranty, but I believe with proper maintenance, we can get you to 20 years life expectancy. But if you go with a 50-gallon, I believe we can get that 50-gallon to 10, 12, 15 years. But if we just went with the warranty at 10, and even if you wanted to go with anode rods, then I'm going to divide that out. And if I get to 10 years and 500 weeks, instead of those 300 weeks and I go 500, I'm going to go $1,000, okay? This is if I went to a 10-year instead of 6. I'm going to go $1,000, and I'm going to divide the 1,000 by 500 weeks, and I'm going to say, John, Anthony, whoever I'm talking to, do you think that my product, my warranties, my guarantees, the way we do our installs, the way that we run our business, the way that we serve this community, the way we're built to be here for the long term and protect families, do you think all that's worth $2 a week? The cost of a soda at a local vending machine? And then they're going to say, well, Doug, I hadn't thought about it like that. And I'm going to say, well, with your permission, why don't we go ahead and start on the paperwork and make sure your family's protected? Fair enough? and over and over and over again, about 60 to 70% of the time. And I don't want to oversimplify this because there's an entire process. What do we say on the phones? What do we say when we arrive? What do we say when we enter? It's all a process that we teach. But I promise you, if you work on perfecting that this year, you'll start closing 60, 70% of your deals, never discounting, and you'll even be able to raise your prices, get what you actually deserve for doing the work and taking on the risk and the liability that you do. And I look at this and people always go, well, Doug, your program's $250 a week. And I'm like, it's going to make you millions if you do it. It's a CSR, full CSR program. It's a full tech program. It's a full sales program, all three programs, and it's customized for plumbing. You don't have to customize any of it, and it's $250 a week for a company. Guys, this is not multi-level marketing where we want to get in and start a business. We don't have any expenses. And if you aren't paying somebody or researching and bringing sales training, communication skills training to your team every week, you are only focused on two of the three pillars in your business, and you will never have the success you could have had. I'm not saying you're not successful. I am saying that you are not as successful as you could have been, but you are working your ass off. You're running the calls, you're answering the calls, you're spending all the money, you're buying the trucks, the equipment, the tools, you're fueling them, you're getting your insurance, your license, and then you're not focused on that third pillar. And it's crushing most of us. How do I know? Because even when I was working every single day on mastering this, it was still really freaking hard. I also had big goals, and we were going down and buying 3 trucks at a time and put 40 trucks on the road in 36 months. None of it's easy. I'm very driven. I want to kick ass and take names, but I want to do it at the expense of my character. So I'm like, all right, I don't like sales. I'm like Jared. I told Jared one time, I said, you and I are so similar. I just usually wear a sport coat. I hate salespeople. I hate sales training. I think it's shady. I think it's ugly. I think it's nasty. But I will say that drove me to create a program that we could actually believe in and that our grandmothers would be proud of. Any other questions there, Bryce? Somebody said they thought my jacket.
No, I'm not.
What was he, Don? You thought my jacket looked great. I should have had a sport coat here. I usually am in a sport coat, as most of you guys know. Why? Because I don't pretend that I'm a plumber or that I'm an HVAC specialist, right? I hire those guys. I hold them accountable to their technical expertise, but then I say, you know what? We're going to stack on top of that technical expertise, effective communication, character, integrity, never lying, cheating, or stealing. We're going to communicate better, ladies and gentlemen, and we will win by serving better. Not any other slick, sleazy stuff. Okay. Was there a question?
Nope, no other questions.
Somebody with an iPhone, Bryce, looks like they said, this is gold. Thank you. Is there a printout of this framework that we could get? Yeah, I mean, we can send you guys something. Shoot us a message. By the way, if you go to synergylearningsystems.net, there is up on the menu, there's a podcast tab, and every podcast that I'm invited onto, I try to cover different content. I'll do role plays. I've been on Waste No Day 4 times. Each time I think I do role plays. There's one I went through the whole 5-part closing sequence, broke it down over 2 hours, the 5-part close, just like I did here today for one single objection. By the way, I'm going to do this really quick. I'm going to show you guys how this can be done in 60 seconds. And then I'm going to show you a video because in our training, this, to be honest with you, would be overwhelming. Not just this page, but when you go through the entire process from call ahead to door knock, the whole process is in here. It's 30 years of my life's work. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to share with you this role play, and then I'm just going to show it to you, and I'm going to put it on screen, and then you guys will have it. Yeah, okay. I'm going to share my screen again. I'm going to run the role play. You guys will have this on recording. Am I sharing my screen yet? No? Okay. Is that
No, not yet.
Okay. All right. Let me get back to my Zoom. Thank you for setting all this up, Bryce. It's been great. You're the man. If you guys don't know Bryce Thomas, Bryce is on here with the blue background. He is our Director of Product Development. Wes Specht is also on here. He is our Director of Client Engagement, so he helps you implement this over our 52-week path to mastery for everything. 2 incredible guys. So a lot of support systems around here. All right, I'm going to do this whole thing, and then I'm going to turn and show it to you on video. But before I show it to you on video, I'm going to cue it up with a few more slides. Okay? Here's a recap of what we've learned today. You see my screen now?
Yep, we got it.
Let me go full screen. Still good? Here we go. Here's what we covered today, guys. Anytime we're talking about sales training, just like you got to choose a trustworthy contractor, you got to choose a trustworthy sales process. Ours is built on the grandmother rule. Don't lie, cheat, or steal. We're not here to manipulate. We're only going to do things that we would do with our very own grandmother. Okay. After that, I gave you a little testimonial. Jake has gone from $5,000 a month in net over our 2 years in our program, and now he was at $158,000 net income and 38% net. And if you want to reach out to Jake, he'll tell you it was implementing Jared at the Wealthy Plumber and Doug here at Synergy. So 2 things that changed Jake's life, and everybody here is already in the Wealthy Plumber. We looked at this funnel and I said, hey, we're just going to pick off. I got to think about it. It's only one thing. We're driving people down. I want it to be about price. It's always about price, because if we do it for $1, they would do it, which means their threshold is somewhere between $1 and whatever you're asking them for on whatever project it is. It's somewhere in there. And so it is about price. So just take that to the bank with you and know that the better we get at this, you'll be able to walk out with more deals at better margin. Next up, here it is. So you guys asked if there's a template. So everything that I messily wrote, it is so hard to write on whiteboards, but I'm going to put this on here so you guys can go back and pause this. Here's the script, yours for free. It's worth millions of dollars to you, just this one, if you master it. It's not worth anything to you, by the way, if you don't. I already shared with you that I originally learned this stuff. It was called the intention statement. Tom Hopkins asked it about 20 minutes into the house. I'm showing you a way to use it at the end, even if you don't lay the groundwork. Tom does an intention statement where early on in your sales or service call, he teaches you to say something like this. Hey, here in a little bit, we're going to be going over some system options and some system pricings. And often people tell me 3 things. Either that they have some additional questions, or that they're not sure if the product will work for them, or it's just too much money. Here's all I ask. If we get down to the end, just let me know. If I'm able to cover those 3 things and get those 3 things right, just let me know whether or not I'm a good fit. Is that fair enough? And then when you get down to the end, they got to think about it. Tom would teach you to then refer back to what you said 30 minutes ago and go, you know, earlier we were chatting and you had shared with me that if I could design the perfect solution, answer all your questions, and get the price right, you'd let me know if I'm a good fit. Now you don't seem so sure. So do you have additional questions? Is it not the right solution? Is it just about the money? And then it would be, how much too much? So it's a version of that. I'm just teaching you how to do it without setting the groundwork. Tom's become a personal friend of mine. We got to hang out at the Broadmoor. He's one of the greatest sales trainers of all time. He's one of my mentors. All right, and then there's the thing that we're trying to attain. That's our intention. And then here's where we are in the funnel again. Just to clarify, it's the think about it objection, not the talk to my spouse. And then there it is, word for word. Take a screenshot, go back, watch this. I'm giving away free content right here. There is the entire thing reduced down to word for word. It will work. It won't work 100% of the time. Nothing ever will. But it'll work 60, 70% of the time if you work to master it with a number of other things. There it is. Basically what I have on the board: additional questions, product, service, or recommendation, investment, or price. And then there it is in our tech workbook. Rare listening, as I put it on screen earlier, you guys can all see it there. Or as I put it on the board, now you know what rare listening is. You either repeat, you acknowledge their emotion, you rephrase, you relate, and then you get to your rebuttal, which is what the script was. That's finally your rebuttal. It's all in there. And then this is going to light up all these words on the left. That's what I have written here. The 7 foundations. So Anthony, I think it was, asked about the framework and if you could get that somewhere. Here it is. There's also a lot more that we'll share with you on our website and stuff that we have. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do exactly what is about to happen right there, and I'm going to do it with what we just learned today. So in this role play, it starts at 1 minute and 1 second. You can see down here at the bottom. By the time Jane, the homeowner here, playing the role of the homeowner, tells me, okay, Doug, I'm just going to have to think about it, that countdown timer is going to be at 49 seconds, which means this script, the part that I actually have to say, is only 49 seconds. Now you tell me, if you think your leads are liquid gold and you're spending $300 to generate a lead off of Google AdWords or whatever these days, don't you think you could expect your team to master 49 seconds before you send them out on your liquid gold leads? I think you can expect that. That's what I do. All right, so here goes. This is what you're going to see me do on screen, and this is why we perform it in video so that your team has every single page on video. She's going to tell me she's got to think about it. I'm going to say, it sounds like it's a big decision and you're not quite ready to move forward. You have some concerns. She's going to come back just like Dawn did and say something similar like, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of money. I'm going to say, yeah, it's a significant investment. And then I'm going to go down to Foundation 5 and Wordsmith. You know, Jane, most of our customers, when they're not quite ready to move forward or have some concerns, they've shared with us that it's typically one of three things. Either they have additional questions, it's not the right product or service for them, or it just comes down to the investment. And then I'm going to repeat it. So as soon as I give her what my other customers have shared with me, I repeat it and I say, so do you have some questions? And or I'm going to say, is it the product or service? Or is it about the investment? And then Jane's going to say, yeah, it's just a lot of money. To which I'm going to reply, how much too much is it? It's a condensed version. You guys got the whole thing. And so here it goes. Jane doing exactly what we just learned over the last 2 hours. Will you trust me with this recommendation?
I really need to think about it. It just really feels like something that I should sleep on before making a rash decision.
I think I can relate. It sounds like you have some concerns that maybe we've not yet addressed and you're just not quite ready to move forward. Is that right?
Yeah, I just need a little bit more time.
Typically, our customers that have been hesitant to move forward have shared with us that it's one of three things. Number one, they had some additional questions that had not yet been answered. Number two, they just weren't sure if the product was the right one for them or their family. And number three, we just hadn't been able to get the investment right. Which one of those do you think might be holding you back? Do you have some additional questions, or is it the product you're concerned about, or is it just about the price?
I mean, I don't know. I guess it just really comes down to the price.
How much too much is it? I'd say it's easy as taking candy from a baby, but I don't ever understand that reference. I've had 5 children I've raised. It's really hard to take candy from a baby and they throw a big fit. I'm not sure where that came from. But guys, here's what I will say. It's not easy, but it is absolutely simple. It is 49 seconds to change your life and to at least solve one more challenge so that the I got to think about it objection, I like to say, is like catching smoke. So I'll finish this. It's like, I got to think about it. How do you tell somebody in their own home with their own money they can't think about it? You're creating conflict no matter what you say. So instead of creating conflict, I reduce it by saying, sounds like it's a big decision. You have some concerns. Yeah, it is a significant amount. Most of the time in similar situations, customers share with us, it's one of three things. And then I just move them down that funnel and I say, how much too much is it? And now instead of me trying to catch smoke, now I've got a legitimate objection that I can tackle. And now I can work on building my value around the price that they tell me they think I'm too much. And I don't get mad at them. I know it's their job. Now that they want me, they just want me for less, meaning my company, right? They want me to do it now if I've worked my tail off and I've served them incredibly well and I've built the value in my organization, my team, my company, my installs. They want to use us, and then they just want us at a cheaper price. And there's a threshold somewhere in there. And so I'm just trying to figure out, are they the third that believes in value? Are they a third that goes only with cheap? Are they a third that could go either way? And I just want about 2/3 of the market that I can get to believe in my value and say, okay, let's just do it. Millions of dollars are at stake. So I hope that helped today, guys. I appreciate the time and attention. If anyone has any other questions, be quick. Otherwise, we've been on our 2 hours and Jared might not let me come back if I keep you guys on here all afternoon. We all got work to do. Anybody have any additional questions? Anything you'd like to ask, share, say, feedback? Think I'm a jerk? I'll take it. Anyone, good or bad? I always like to say, feel free to heckle. Challenge on this, because if you get off here and it's like, oh, I didn't like that one part. I didn't like the way you said it. All right, I'll give you a different alternative. Trying to help. So anybody, any feedback at all? Concerns? Going once, going twice. Bryce, any final thoughts? Anything? I think you maybe put our website in there. I don't know if there's any other links that you want to share before we go.
I thought it was a great call. I would, I would definitely say, take screenshots of the screen. You can catch the recording on the Wealthy Plumber. We're going to get that up there shortly after this call ends. And don't hesitate to leave any questions in the school group. Our team is on the Wealthy Plumber group, and so we're always looking at questions, messages, anything that people post on there. We'll jump on really, really quickly. Um, but I thought it was a great call. I'm I'm feeling cool about the whiteboard in the background, as it's you'll see that we'll continue to increase our production levels here around Synergy. We got a lot of fun things rolling out soon, like a podcast, our YouTube channel. Social media is going to be cranked up another notch. So it's a very exciting time around here. I think the Wealthy Plumber is going to be a great group to see some of this stuff before it blows up and gets sent out to the rest of the world. So yeah, and yeah, we'll be rolling out a sport coat apparel line here very shortly. Don,
Oh,
I
Don,
love
I
it.
love it. I love it. Next time I'm bringing the sport coat. Hey, you made me red. I've been getting a little bit of sun. Um, but yeah, listen, if Bryce mentioned, I didn't even think to mention this, our socials. Since about the time I spoke at Jared's Hoorah event in Pensacola last October, we just started launching a lot of little snippets of our training on socials. So if you're not ready to maybe move forward with a full-blown, Synergy 52-week path to mastery with us at 250 a week, I encourage you to follow me, Instagram and Facebook, TikTok, everywhere you go. It's Doug S. Wyatt. Very easy to find. And like every 48 hours, we post another little nugget of content. Never any sales presentation, just content, content, content. And a lot of people have been, saying, man, I tried that last night. It worked. So follow us on socials. We'll get to know each other. Well, I'm sure we'll see you guys back here in about 4 weeks. If you have a request of like, hey, man, this one's killing me, or what do you say when you get in the home, or do you get your guys? How do you get people to get to the kitchen table and present 3 options? Whatever it is that you have a challenge with in your business, send it to us at info@synergylearningsystems.net. There's contact us forms on there. My email is doug@synergylearningsystems.net. Reach out to us. We'll be happy to cover some of that content. I love this stuff. And our program is so robust. I don't mind getting on here and giving, an hour and a half or 2 of content away. I think it just helps people. And if you're out there and you're using it, that's all I could ask for is, yeah, I'm having success and we're serving more customers and we're saving them from going with a bad decision with the cheap guys. They're going to cut corners and leave people in a lurch. So that's my goal. Let's do the jobs right. We should be able to set our investment, the price of doing our work at a price that's fair, but also allows us to serve our business and not go broke. So thank you guys. I appreciate your time and attention. I hope something we said today resonated and you put it to work there in your life and your business. And maybe when we get on here next month, we have some testimonials from how you've implemented the I got to think about it objection handling sequence. Thank you guys, and I'll see you next month.
See you, everybody.